You think all pizza chains are the same, reliable and safe for dinner night. But what if I told you some of those familiar names are secretly serving up disappointment and possibly making you sick? This video exposes 7 big pizza chains you should skip and reveals the 2 that actually deliver quality. One wrong slice could cost you more than just calories. Kicking things off at number 7, we've got Little Caesars. The bargain box that proves cheap doesn't mean worth it. Hot and ready? More like cold and regret. The moment you open that greasy orange box, the first thing you see isn't pizza, it's an oil slick big enough to fry another slice. The crust bends like wet cardboard, the cheese tastes closer to melted plastic than dairy, and the pepperoni glistens with a chemical shine that screams, "This is not food." But that bargain $5 pizza comes at a cost that isn't printed on the receipt. Former staff on employee forums admit the dough is frozen, shipped in bulk, and tossed into ovens by workers who get little more than a quick push this button kind of training. One even joked, if you can use a microwave, you're overqualified. Grease isn't the only problem. The nutrition numbers are brutal. One slice of Little Caesars pepperoni pizza can top 1,000 milligrams of sodium. That's more salt than some seniors should eat in an entire meal. And who eats just one slice? 2 or 3 pieces and you're looking at a sodium surge that could send blood pressure through the roof. Wait until you hear this shortcut. Employees have claimed that sauce comes in giant plastic bags, cut open, and squeezed like ketchup packets into tubs. And that so-called fresh mozzarella, more like processed cheese blend with an aftertaste that sticks to your tongue like glue. Visually, it's a horror show. Boxes come out of the oven so greasy that they leave stains on tables, clothes, even car seats. One customer described it as carrying around a leaky oil change in a cardboard container. Not exactly dinner with the family. And let's not ignore the taste. It's not pizza, it's a circle of sadness for $5. Sure, it fills you up, but so would a sponge if you soaked it in enough grease. Now ask yourself, would you really feed this to your kids or your aging parents knowing what's inside? More sodium than a fast food burger, mystery cheese blends, and dough that's never truly fresh. That's not convenience, that's a gamble with your health. What's the worst thing you've ever seen come out of a Little Caesars box? Drop it in the comments. I bet we'll build a horror list that makes this one look tame. That was only the appetizer, because the next pizza chain on this list might completely rewrite what you thought about gas station food. Next up, at number 6 is Sbarro. The pizza you settle for when Auntie Anne's runs out of pretzels. That's Sbarro. Once a mall food court staple, now it's more like the last option before starvation. You don't choose it, you end up there by accident, like falling into a pit covered by a cheap tablecloth. Slices sit under buzzing fluorescent lights, sweating like prisoners waiting for parole. The cheese hardens into a rubber mat, the crust stiffens like cardboard left in the rain, and the sauce? A flat smear of tomato flavor so weak it could pass for watered-down ketchup. But here's the real shocker. This isn't just a flavor failure. Sbarro has filed for bankruptcy multiple times. In 2011, again in 2014, and even after revamps, the chain still can't shake its reputation for bland pizza nobody craves. If survival depended on taste, this chain would have been buried years ago. Ex-staff have whispered in online forums about slices reheated again and again until the cheese starts separating into greasy orange puddles. One even claimed, "We'd throw old pies back in the oven until they looked new." Translation, your fresh slice could have had a second life before it reached your tray. Ever tasted cardboard with tomato perfume? You have. That's the standard Sbarro experience. And when you pair it with a soda, you're downing a sodium load that can top 900 milligrams per slice. That's a salty gut punch most seniors can't afford, especially when 2 slices nearly max out a day's safe intake. Visually, it's almost funny if it weren't sad. The New York-style slice folds like drywall, snapping instead of bending. The grease seeps through the paper plate, creating polka dots on the table beneath. It's pizza cosplay, wearing the costume, but none of the taste. How many of you have been trapped into buying Sbarro just because it was the only thing open at the mall? Drop your horror story in the comments. Sbarro isn't pizza, it's survival food disguised as dinner, and the only thing consistent is disappointment. Even its biggest fans admit it's okay if you're starving, which tells you everything. And if you thought mall pizza was sad, brace yourself. The next chain isn't just boring, it's soaked in grease, lawsuits, and nostalgia that curdled decades ago. Sliding in at number 5, Pizza Hut. It's not nostalgia, it's heartburn in a box. Pizza Hut used to be a Friday night treat. Now it's a grease-soaked relic. Open one of their boxes and the oil seeps through the cardboard like the pizza is marinating the packaging itself. Pick up a slice and the cheese slides off in one gloopy sheet, leaving behind a soggy slab of dough. Ever wondered why your paper plate looks like an oil painting? This chain has been sliding downhill for decades. Complaints about undercooked pies are common. Customers have posted photos of raw dough, gooey and pale, hidden under layers of toppings. Others complain about mix-ups, orders showing up cold, wrong, or missing items entirely. In one lawsuit, a family in California sued after biting into what they described as uncooked doughy pizza that caused illness. That's not nostalgia, that's negligence. Stuffed crust, once a novelty, is now a nutritional nightmare. One slice can pack more fat than a fast food burger meal. Order a large with extra cheese, and you're staring down over 350 calories a slice and nearly 700 milligrams of sodium. 2 slices and you're halfway to blowing past your daily limit before dessert even hits the table. A former employee once joked on Reddit, "We used to say the pan pizza wasn't baked, it was deep fried in its own grease." That's not far off. Pan crusts sit in pools of oil before baking, turning the bottom into something that crunches like fried chicken skin. Another ex-line cook admitted boxes sometimes sat under heat lamps for hours until they smelled more like stale fries than fresh pizza. Is this dinner or a science experiment in grease preservation? And yet, people still fall for the nostalgia. Red roof logos, cheesy bread memories. But here's the reality. Today's Pizza Hut isn't the dine-in spot from your childhood. It's a conveyor belt of mediocrity wrapped in cardboard that leaks more than the food delivers. What's the worst Pizza Hut disaster you've ever opened? Raw dough? Grease puddles? Drop your story in the comments. Let's see who got the scariest box. Pizza Hut is no longer comfort food. It's disappointment wrapped in paper and drenched in oil. And if you thought this giant's fall from grace is bad, the next one gets even sweeter, and not in a good way. If you're finding this helpful, click the red subscribe button right under the video. It's free, and it means you'll see my next pizza reviews without having to search for them. Now imagine your slice sliding off the tray, toppings dripping onto the floor. Now hold that thought because the next one's worse. At number 4, Papa John's. Their slogan says, better ingredients, better pizza. Reality check? It should be better sugar, not better pizza. The sauce is so sweet you could drizzle it on pancakes. One slice feels less like dinner and more like a dessert with pepperoni glued on top. Ever tasted pizza sauce that reminds you of a donut glaze? And then there's the dough. Critics have long said it eats more like cake than crust. Thick, soft, and cloying. Not exactly the base for a crisp, satisfying pie. Combine that with cheese that sometimes congeals into a gummy layer, and you're left wondering if you just spent $15 on a sad birthday cake with meat sprinkles. Papa John's doesn't just struggle with taste, it struggles with trust. The founder, John Schnatter, made headlines after racist remarks and a bizarre claim that he ate 40 pizzas in 30 days and found the quality slipping. If the man who built the empire says it's gone downhill, what hope does the rest of us have? But here's the real gut punch. Quality depends entirely on the franchise. Some shops pull pies that are edible. Others send out undercooked dough that bends like wet cardboard. Whistleblowers on staff forums admit to being told to rush it through the oven during busy nights, leading to raw spots inside the crust. And then there's the famous garlic butter cup. Fans love it. Critics call it liquid regret, a tub of yellow sludge so oily it leaves fingerprints on the table. Dip a slice and watch the grease crawl down your arm. A former line cook admitted it often sat out for hours, sweating in plastic tubs until it looked more like melted candle wax than food. Pizza or sugar bomb in disguise? Nutritionally, this chain is no angel. A single large slice of pepperoni runs about 300 calories and almost 800 milligrams of sodium. 2 or 3 slices, plus a dip in the butter, and you've blasted past your day's salt limit before you even open the cookie box. Your heart's not racing from excitement. It's working overtime to keep up. What's the worst Papa John's order you've ever had? Doughy crust? Too sweet sauce? Or a garlic butter cup that looked more like melted crayons? Drop your story below and let's compare nightmares. Papa John's is just sugar sauce, soggy dough, and oily regret. If you thought your arteries survived that round, buckle up, because the next chain serves regret with extra cheese and grease. Coming in at number 3, Domino's, the chain that bragged about fixing its recipe, but forgot to fix the flavor. Back in 2010, Domino's launched that huge "We've Changed Everything" campaign. New crust, new sauce, new cheese. Ads showed chefs admitting the old pizza tasted like cardboard. Brave move. Problem is, the new pizza still gets roasted for being rubbery, greasy, and bland. Did they fix the recipe, or just the commercials? The cheese is the biggest complaint. Customers say it stretches like plastic wrap and tastes about as exciting. The sauce? Thin, weak, and more acidic than rich. And the crust? Let's be real. That thin crust they brag about doesn't crunch. It cracks, like drywall snapping in your hands. The nutrition facts are scarier than the flavor. A large specialty pizza can top 3,500 calories. That's more than an entire day's worth of food for some people. The sodium? Sky high. One medium slice can pack over 700 milligrams. Eat 3 slices and your blood pressure doesn't just rise, it sends postcards. Is this dinner or a sodium bomb waiting to detonate? And let's not ignore the customer horror stories. Forums are packed with people venting about cold deliveries, pizzas flipped in the box, and toppings clumped in one sad corner. One guy posted a photo of his order where all the cheese had slid completely off, leaving a bare, wet crust. It looked less like pizza and more like a science experiment that failed mid-bake. Employees have also hinted at the shortcuts. Some mention pre-shredded cheese that comes in giant plastic bags, sticking together in clumps until it's forced apart. Others talk about ovens cranked too high so pies come out half-burned on one side, undercooked on the other. Consistency? Only if you mean consistently average. So let me throw it to you. What's the worst Domino's pizza you've ever been handed? The one that made you swear never again? Drop it in the comments. I want to hear those greasy war stories. Domino's isn't the worst, but that's the problem. It's not good either. It's the gray zone of pizza, overrated, overhyped, and overpriced for what you get. Congratulations if you've survived that slice. But unfortunately, the next one has lesser survival built in and more hospital trips guaranteed. At number 2, Blaze Pizza. Build your own disaster, fresh from the assembly line. That's Blaze Pizza. The chain markets itself as artisanal fast casual, but in practice it feels more like cafeteria chaos. Pizzas slide through conveyor ovens like hospital food on a belt, only instead of a bland tray of mashed potatoes, you're left with a charred frisbee or a limp, soggy mess. Fresh and fast, more like burnt and bland. Here's the reality. Consistency doesn't exist here. One customer raves about crispy crust, while another posts photos of raw, doughy centers that look like someone forgot to press start on the oven. Some pies come out blackened at the edges. Others collapse in the middle under a swamp of watery toppings. Either way, you're playing pizza roulette every time you order. And it's not just random customers saying this. Staff forums are littered with complaints about the ovens being rushed, pies pushed through half-cooked to keep the line moving. An ex-employee admitted that training was basically, just shove it in and hope it cooks. Then there's the hype factor. LeBron James himself was one of Blaze's biggest investors, promoting it like it was the future of pizza. And sure, the idea of choosing your own toppings sounds cool, until you realize the flavor doesn't match the star power. One viral review nailed it. I didn't get LeBron-level greatness. I got middle school cafeteria pizza with better lighting. And yes, they actually ran out of cheese at some locations. Think about that. A pizza chain with no cheese. Customers walked in, built their dream pies, only to be told the main ingredient didn't exist that day. That's like a coffee shop saying, sorry, no coffee. It's absurd. Nutritionally, Blaze isn't much safer either. A build-your-own with double meat and cheese can hit 2,000 calories and enough sodium to outsalt your entire daily allowance in one sitting. And it doesn't help when the crust tastes like a stale cracker drowned in grease. Have you ever had a Blaze pizza so bad it made you swear off, build your own forever? Drop your story in the comments. Blaze is trendy, sure, but hype burned hotter than the ovens, and what's left is disappointment on a plate. You think you've tasted disappointment? Wait until you see how the next place manages to charge for flavorless cardboard with sauce. And at number 1 on the avoid list, Pizza Ranch. Pizza under heat lamps and bacteria under the radar. That's the real deal at Pizza Ranch. Buffets always carry risks, but this chain turns all you can eat into all you can risk. A buffet is only as safe as the last person who sneezed. Walk into a Pizza Ranch buffet and you'll see trays of pizza, chicken, and mac and cheese left sweating under orange bulbs. The crust turns leathery. The cheese hardens into a gummy shell. That famous mac and cheese pizza? More like noodles with a clammy yellow film. It's the kind of surface that looks alive, like it might crawl off the pan if you watch too long. Health inspections back this up. Several locations have been cited for food temps dropping below safe levels, mold in soda fountains, and dirty prep stations. In one case, inspectors reported old food debris, clogging kitchen equipment, a polite way of saying last week's crust was still hanging around. But here's the thing. Staff claim leftovers don't always die when the buffet ends. Ex-workers on forums describe managers telling them to reheat yesterday's pies for the lunch crowd. Translation: that slice of chicken bacon ranch ranch you thought was fresh might have been reheated more times than your grandma's casserole. One whistleblower flat out said, if it wasn't green, it went back out. And yes, people get sick. Online reviews mention stomach cramps and food poisoning after family nights. One customer wrote, the chicken was cold in the middle. 2 hours later, so was I, shivering on my bathroom floor. Nutritionally, it's no rescue either. A plate with 2 slices of specialty pizza, fried chicken, and cheesy sides can hit 2,500 calories and nearly 5,000 milliamoules of sodium. That's double the daily limit before dessert. And let's be honest, who stops at one plate when it's unlimited? When was the last time you trusted a buffet and regretted it? And yet, families still line up because it's cheap and endless. But endless food doesn't mean endless safety. It means endless chances for germs to spread, leftovers to recycle, and your gut to pay the price. It's not all you can eat, it's all you can risk. Ever had a Pizza Ranch horror story of your own? Share it below. I bet you've seen worse. But don't lose hope, not every chain is a nightmare waiting under a heat lamp. A couple actually get it right, and those rare safe bets, they're up next. But finally, let's talk about the rare bright spots. First, Casey's, the gas station slice that shames the big boys. Casey's has built an empire across the Midwest by doing something that sounds insane, making pizza inside a convenience store. But people actually love it. When a gas pump beats Pizza Hut, you know the rules are broken. You walk into a Casey's in Iowa or Nebraska. The air smells like fuel, coffee, and surprisingly fresh dough. Behind the counter, workers are rolling out crusts by hand, slathering sauce that doesn't taste canned, and topping it with meats and veggies that don't look like they've been thawed since 1999. Locals swear by it. In small-town communities, Casey's Pizza is more than a late-night snack. It's the main event. One customer wrote, better than Pizza Hut, no contest. Another claimed, this is the only reason I don't hate living in the middle of nowhere. That's not corporate marketing. That's small-town loyalty earned one pepperoni slice at a time. How many gas stations can honestly brag about that? The breakfast pizza is their crown jewel. Scrambled eggs, sausage, cheese, and a light white sauce. It sounds like a gut bomb, but it actually tastes right. Even health nuts admit it hits better than the greasy chains. And in 2022, Casey's breakfast pizza won Best Regional Fast Food Breakfast in several foodie polls. Let that sink in. Gas station pizza beating national chains in blind taste tests. It doesn't mean everything's perfect. Some critics mention uneven quality across locations. One whistleblower on a staff forum said certain stores skimp on toppings to cut costs. Still, compared to the horror show buffets we've just gone through, a slightly light cheese layer feels like a mercy. Nutrition-wise, it's no salad. A large breakfast pizza clocks in at about 2,400 calories and 4,500 milligrams of sodium. But here's the shock. That's still cleaner than piling your plate at Pizza Ranch or stuffing yourself with Domino's cheese bombs. Casey's wins not because it's health food, but because it tastes fresh and doesn't feel like it crawled out of a freezer. Fill up your car, fill up your stomach, and somehow both feel fine. You leave with a full tank and fewer regrets than you'd get at Pizza Hut. Ever tried Casey's Pizza on a road trip? Be honest. Was it better than the chains? Still hungry? Perfect. Because the next chain is ready to feed you a slice that tastes like a dare gone wrong. And last but definitely not least, Donatos. Proof that chain pizza doesn't have to taste like regret. That's Donatos. Born in Columbus, Ohio back in 1963, this chain quietly built a reputation that still holds strong today. While other chains expanded and cut corners, Donatos stayed consistent, and fans never forgot. Edge to edge, nothing left bare. That's their trademark. Toppings all the way to the crust. No sad empty ring, no desert of bread waiting to betray you. Just full coverage. Each slice feels like you're getting the whole pizza, not a cheap trick. Their pepperoni is the star, spicy, crisp, and high quality. In fact, Donatos loads more than 100 slices of pepperoni on a large. That's not marketing fluff. That's a fact fans brag about. And it actually tastes balanced. The crust is thin but sturdy, the sauce is tangy without being sugar sludge, and the cheese actually tastes like cheese. Customers rave that it's the rare chain pizza that doesn't feel like a freezer experiment. One foodie summed it up. Finally, a pizza chain that doesn't taste like it was cooked in a dorm microwave. When was the last time chain pizza made you nod in approval? Donatos even won attention from big players. McDonald's once bought into them, trying to make it their national pizza arm. That deal fizzled out, but the brand kept its quality focus and earned loyalty across Ohio, Indiana, and beyond. Of course, it's not healthy food. A pepperoni slice still packs sodium and calories, but it's pizza that tastes fresh, not processed regret. And honestly, that alone makes it stand out in a sea of greasy chains. Ever had Donatos? Or is it still on your bucket list? Tell us your verdict. Remember, don't settle for pizza that leaves you sick or unsatisfied. Subscribe now, and I'll help you pick slices that are safe, delicious, and worth every bite.